Hi everyone, I'm Andy Lemaire. In this video, I'm going to talk about using the Dorian mode to solo over a 12-bar blues progression. The Dorian mode can be a great scale to use over the blues progression, and it can be a good alternative to using the blues scale if you ever want to get a bit of a different sound when you're soloing over that type of progression. To do that, I've put together a sample solo that uses the Dorian mode throughout it. So I'll be showing you that solo and breaking down what's going on inside of it so that you can get some ideas to pull from it and use in your own solos. However, one thing I'm not going to go into too much in this video is the theory behind the Dorian mode or what modes are in general. I did make another video that delves more into the theory side of things, so if you think that would be helpful, I'll put a link to that down in the description. But I wanted to keep this video musical and hands-on and relatively free of theory so that anyone could use some of the ideas in it. So even if you don't know much about modes or what the Dorian scale is, you could still pull some licks from this solo that I've put together and use some of them in your own solos. So the solo in this video takes place over an A blues progression. So I'm in the key of A. It's just a standard 12-bar blues progression in the key of A. And I'm going to play over two choruses of that progression. So I'm going to go through 2 rounds of the progression. In the first chorus, I'll be using the Dorian mode down here on the 5th fret. More specifically, I'm going to be using what I call the blues Dorian scale. So let me break down what that scale is. You can think of it first as being the A minor pentatonic scale. You can think of the A minor pentatonic scale as being kind of the outline or the skeleton of this scale. So the A minor pentatonic scale down in this position looks like this. To that, you can add the blue note, which would make it the A blues scale. So here's the A minor pentatonic scale with the blue note added, which would be the A blues scale. And then to that, you can add a couple more notes from the Dorian mode. And used in conjunction with the blue note from the blues scale, you end up with the blues Dorian scale. So here's that. The solo is broken down into 9 phrases. So I'll start by just showing you the full solo to start with so you can hear what that sounds like. But then after that, I'm going to go through each phrase and just talk through what's going on in it, break it down note by note, and I'll also show a tab for each phrase on the screen as I do so. So let's go ahead and hear the full solo to start off. Okay, so let's look at what was going on in there. Here's the first phrase. So here I start off by doing a half bend on the 7th fret of the 2nd string. So I'm bending this note until it sounds like the note in the 8th fret here. I silence it before bringing it back down. Then I do another half bend, which goes up and back down. I pull off back to my index finger on the 5th fret. Back down on the 7th fret. Then I come up to the 5th fret on this 3rd string. I do a small little quarter bend, silence it before bringing it back down. Then I come up to the 7th fret of the 4th string, 5th fret of the 4th string, 7th fret. Then I play the 7th fret again. I lay my ring finger down across the 7th fret and the 3rd string and the 2nd string. Then I lay my index finger down in the 5th fret of those strings. And I finish off on the 7th fret of the 4th string. And now here is the second phrase. Okay, so this one gets a little bit of a Chuck Berry thing going on here, which the Dorian scale is great for. So I flatten out my index finger on the 1st and 2nd strings, do a little slide up onto the 5th fret, play those a couple of times. Then I come over to the 8th fret of the 2nd string, do a quarter bend, silence it before bringing it back down. Play those 5th fret notes, another bend on the 8th fret of the 2nd string, 5th fret notes here. Then I flatten out on the 8th fret of the first 2 strings, then the 7th fret of those 2 strings, back to the 5th fret. I come up a string, and so now I'm laying down across the 3rd string and the 2nd string in the 5th fret. Then my ring finger gets the same 2 strings in the 7th fret, and I pick and slide up onto the 8th fret, and then back down to the 7th fret. I do a pull off from both those notes, back to the 5th fret, and then I lay back down on the 7th fret. Then I come up to the 4th string, 7th fret, 5th fret of the 3rd string, 7th fret of that string, and then I finish off on the 7th fret of the 4th string. And then I play those notes again. And now for phrase 3. This is a short phrase. Okay, pretty simple. So I start off on the 7th fret of the 3rd string, then the 5th fret of the 2nd string, 8th fret of the 2nd string, come down to the 1st string, I pick the 5th fret, and hammer on into the 7th fret. I do another one of those, and then I pull back off to the 5th fret. Then I come over to the 8th fret of the 2nd string, and then back to the 5th fret of the 1st string, 8th fret of the 2nd string, and the 5th fret of the 2nd string. Okay, and then here's the 4th phrase. So this one starts with a full bend on the 7th fret of the 3rd string. So I'm bending until it sounds like the 9th fret there. I silence that before bringing it back down. Then I play the 5th fret of the 2nd string, 5th fret of the 1st string, then 7th fret of the 2nd string, and I do a half bend here. I bring it back down, pull off to the 5th fret, then the 7th fret of the 4th string. I lay my ring finger down flat on the 7th fret of the 3rd and 2nd strings, then index flat on the same strings in the 5th fret, then 7th fret of the 4th string, 5th fret of the 3rd string, 7th fret of the 3rd string, and 7th fret of the 4th string. And now onto the 5th phrase. This is another short one that just wraps up the first chorus, or the first half of the solo. It sounds like this. And this is really more of just a blues scale phrase. So it starts on the 7th fret of the 4th string, 5th fret of the 3rd string, back to the 7th fret of the 4th string, then 7th fret of the 3rd string, 8th fret of the 3rd string, and 5th fret of the 2nd string. And now here's phrase 6 of the solo. So this is the first phrase where I move up an octave and do the same scale up here on the 17th fret. So this is just going to be exactly the same scale I was doing down here on the 5th fret, but 1 octave higher. So I come up here, and the phrase sounds like this. All right, so I start off on the 17th fret of the 2nd string. I hammer on to the 19th fret, then the 17th fret of the 1st string. Then I do a half bend on the 19th fret of the 1st string. Silence it before bringing it back down. Then I do a full bend on the 18th fret. What I actually do here is I do a full bend, and then once it reaches that full bend, I push it up an additional quarter bend or so. So that sounds like this. I silence that one before bringing it back down. Then on the same note, the 20th fret of the 1st string, I do a quarter bend. And then I go back to the 17th fret of the 1st string, come up to the 2nd string, 17, 20, and then 17 on the 1st string. And now here's the 6th phrase of the solo. This one sounds like this. So this phrase here takes advantage of the similarity in the outlay of the notes on the bottom 3 strings in this scale. You've got notes in 20, 19, and 17 on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd strings in the blues Dorian scale. And so sometimes it sounds good to do a similar lick and just hop around between those 3 different strings, which is what I'm doing here. So I start off on the 2nd string, 17th fret, then the 19th fret, and I do a half bend, bring it back down, pull off back to 17. Then I move up to the 3rd string and I just do exactly the same thing there. 17. Actually, no, that one starts on 19. Full half bend, release, pull back to 17. Then I hop back down to the 2nd string, do the same thing there. Then I come down to the 1st string and do that. Then 2nd string, 3rd string, and 2nd string. And then just to break out of that, I come up to the 3rd string, 17th fret, 19, and then 17 of the 2nd string, back to 17 of the 3rd string, and I do a quarter bend. Then I do a full bend and release on 19 of the 3rd string, pull off to 17, and finish off on 19 of the 4th string. And now on to the 8th phrase of the solo. So here's the phrase. Okay, so this one starts by doing a 1 fret slide up onto the 17th fret of the second string. Play that note a few times, then 19, 20, 17. Then I play two notes at once. That's 20 on the first string and 19 on the second string. Produces a nice harsh kind of biting sound, which can sound good if used at the right time. Then I lay down flat on the 19th fret of the first and second string. Then 17 of the first and second string. Then back to doing just one note here on 19 of the first string. Then I come up to 19 of the second string. And then I finish off on 17 of the first string. And here's the last phrase, the ninth phrase. This is another short one that just kind of wraps up the solo. So this one also is just a pentatonic scale phrase. It's not really using the full blues Dorian scale. It starts off on the 19th fret of the fourth string, then 17 on the third string, 19 on the third string, 17 on the second string, 17 on the third string, 19 on the third string, 17 on the second string, and then I finish off on 19 of the fourth string. Okay, I hope you found that helpful. So what you can do to work on this from here is, on the one hand, you could zero in on just one or two phrases that you particularly liked. You could work on being able to play them smoothly, and then try sitting down with a backing track and using them in your own way. You can change the rhythms around in the notes in the phrase. You could add notes to it or take notes away. Do just different things to make it your own version of that phrase, and just practice using it in your own way in an improvisation. Or on the other hand, you could try and learn the whole solo all the way through. There's a lot of value for that, and you'll pick up some new technique and work your playing in a number of ways if you do that too. Whichever way you go about it, I would also suggest trying to do some of these ideas in a different key. So I was just in the key of A, using the A blues Dorian scale, which started down here on this A note here on the 5th fret of the 6th string. So if, for instance, you were going to be playing over a C blues progression in the key of C, and you wanted to use the C blues Dorian scale, you could just move that entire pattern up 3 frets so that it starts on this C note up here on the 6th string, which would look like this. And moving it to other keys would work in a similar way. So if you found this helpful, I'd love it if you subscribe to the channel and keep an eye out for future videos. I'll be posting some more videos about soloing, both in the blues genre and in other styles as well. So keep an eye out for those. In the meantime, take care.